I've got this box here, and I'm pretty sure it's a F. Atlee Dodge box. I'm not 100% sure. It was installed by Cub Crafters in the other airframe. It's a map pouch, or map box. It fits on to the forward kick panel here, the inside panel. Fits in this empty space, this wasted space between the inside of the kick panel and the boot cowl. I've used it quite a bit. It's a pretty good storage spot for maps. I keep my Juneau sectional chart and Ketchikan sectional chart in there, and the Southeast supplement, which gives the airport data and stuff like that, as well as my airplane checklists and flight manual. Some of that stuff gets to be kind of hard to get out because it's a real narrow box and it extends down here a long ways, and the shorter stuff gets pushed in there a long ways, and it's kind of hard to get out. But for sectional charts, it's not too bad. And I need to fit it in and cut out the access hole for it, and you can't really get any good clamps on there to hold it on, so I've just got duct tape holding it down. There's a diagonal that runs from here on the engine mount back down to the bottom of the door post down there, and this fits outside of that. Now right here, right now, that clears that, but you can see a line on there where that rubbed a little bit on the other airframe. And then there's a piece of Piper channel that runs from this rear boot cowl Piper channel and down to that diagonal. So I've got this thing, I don't want it to rub on that either, so it's up a little higher than I would like it, but that's where it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and drill through this and through this interior panel, and I'm going to put nut plates on this flange. There's a little flange around the perimeter of this, top and bottom, and then the entryway here. And that had Tinnerman nuts for sheet metal screws in there before, but I think I'm going to go ahead and drill these out and put number 6 nut plates in there. Once I get a hole drilled in here, then I can hold this on with a cleco and then locate my other holes, and then I'll draw a perimeter line out around this where this flange is and stuff, and I'll just have to measure everything out, and cut that hole out to fit in that panel. I got this thing located, I guess, where it's going to go. I wanted to keep it back a little ways from this post here so the nut plates and stuff didn't rub on it, and I had to keep it back far enough to get it to be able to get the drill in there to drill the holes. I got 2 holes there on the front, and they're a little closer in than the other ones were, but it shouldn't affect it any. And then there was 1 hole here all the way in the back before, 1 screw on both the top and the bottom. I put 2 up on this upper flange and 2 on the lower flange, and I've got it held on with clecos now. So I can take that off now, drill those holes out for number 6 screw, and put number 6 nut plates on them. But first I'm going to take a marker and draw a line around this, the perimeter of this, so I can figure out where the hole, the access hole for this thing goes, and cut it out. Now this thing rubs a little bit on the bottom on this diagonal that runs up and down here, so I'll probably put a little bit of anti-chafe tape on that, just something to keep it from rattling on that thing. We got this on the bench here now, and clecoed down. I can go ahead and make my mark here on the front where I couldn't reach before. Now if I take some measurements here, I can measure back this flange and cut that whole opening out for that. You can see on here where it rubbed on that cross diagonal brace before when it was on the other airframe. I got the nut plates installed in this box, and I just used the number 6. I get wing nut plates, standard nut plates, and they're so much easier to use than those floating nut plates. You don't have to worry about squishing the cage for the nut plate at all or anything. You can get the cleco in there. The number 6s, they're longer here. Actually, they're the same distance because the same guide uses the same drill guide. so they're the same distance apart for the rivets. But you put the rivet in there, and the setter on the rivet setter fits in there without, you can get it centered on the rivet and get a nice squeeze on it, whereas those floating nut plates you can't quite get on the rivet very well. Only problem with these is you have to have a little more accuracy in your panels, or give yourself a little bit more room in the mounting holes, so because these nuts don't align any at all. They don't move once they're in there. They're pretty fixed. I've got my cutout marked out in here. There's the box screwed onto my panel. I used 5/16 number 6 screws through there, and I've got plenty of screw going through the nut plate, so those are going to be fine for that. There's my cutout. I used the rotor broach tool, and the largest one on there, which is what, 3/4, and cut out the corners, and then I just used the sheet metal shears and rough cut the opening. I can take the Dremel tool with the sander on it and true this up, finish this out. This has got a little bit of a gap here, a little bit flex back here where that back of this box is. And I could put something on there, but whatever you put in there is going to protrude through where your hand goes, and where stuff goes slides in and out of there, so it'd catch on that. There's already a sharp edge on this. I remember scratching my hand upon that when I'd reach in there before, so I'm probably going to round that over, radius that over that edge, and that'll make it a little easier so you don't gouge your hand up when you reach down in there to get something. Alright, I got my hole almost finished up. I'm going to take it apart now. I got to true up this bottom edge here a little bit and deburr these edges and stuff around here, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to round over this upper this lip here going into the box. But all that looks pretty good. That cleaned up pretty good. I used a combination of things. The Dremel tool with the drum sander on it, it worked pretty good for roughing it out and getting these corners, but it's just really hard to make a nice straight line with that. So I roughed it out with that and got it down, and then I used a combination of files here. Use this big double cut bastard file. Takes the material off pretty good. Of course, this file's wore out, so it doesn't cut too fast, but I used a little smaller one for a little more control. For quick removal on this, like this upper edge up here, to get it down, I used this riffling file. This works really good for taking material off pretty fast. Oh, I got all my lines straight there. I'll go ahead and take this apart and deburr those. Okay, I got it cleaned up and fitted back up again, and it fits up pretty good. I tried the number 6 screws, flathead screws, with the flat washers, countersunk washers on them, and they just stick out too far, especially on these two, and they'd hang out over this lip, so that'd defeat the purpose on that. You'd reach in there and grab those, or on your hand. So. And I took the file and some sandpaper and smoothed over this rough edge in here. Well, that's a lot nicer now. Hand in and out of there and stuff. So, yeah, that's it. Hey, there's the map box mounted on there. I think that's going to be okay. Got a little bit of vibration. It's a little bit soft there, but I think that'll stiffen up when I get my pieces on the inside. It does have a gap right here between this box and the panel. I don't really know what to do about that. I have to figure something out there. I think maybe if I put some glue of some kind in there, RTV or something like that, and clamp that together, I'll see how that holds. Might be able to make a little plastic, or might be able to find a little plastic clamp or something to fit on that. But that's it. That much is done. It's one more thing off the list.